Welcome back to another episode of an Entertainment Roundup. I'm J77, and today's we got a ton of stuff to talk about. I'm going to get to all of it today. It's going to be a little longer than usual for this episode, but being that I was on a mini vacation and being the fact that now that 4th of July has come and gone, I get the chance to talk about some of the stuff that has happened here. First off, let's get some good news here because as you guys was watching the World Cup. The women's USA soccer team have came out victorious. This is something of a big accomplishment for the women of soccer, and I'm for one am very proud of them. They have done a great job representing not only the sport but this country. They did it with class. They did it with great charisma. And New York have rewarded them with a parade down the Canyon of Heroes. And I find it very interesting because when they won the cup, when they won the championship, I was asking myself who's going to host the parade for them, because there had to be something. And for a while, for a good 2.5 days, we didn't heard anything about how they was going to reward them. We know they was going to go to the White House eventually, but nothing about a parade. And then New York, especially with de Blasio, and hats off for him for stepping to the plate, have offered New York to be the grand poobah of them being rewarded for their great hard work. And sure enough, on that Tuesday, it was officially announced that they will have that parade, which had passed about 24 hours ago on Friday. And I was very happy. Kind of concerned about traffic because I do work in Jersey and I do take the PATH train, but that was the least of my concern. They handled it with class. They handled it with the way you reward champions in New York, and a lot of sportscasters, a lot of news have said that what a better way than to do it here in New York. But I did find it kind of interesting that no other city wanted to host it for them. I didn't hear anything from Los Angeles. I even Washington D.C., which made more sense because that's the nation capital. But no, that didn't really happen, and I'm kind of wondering if New York didn't step to the plate and offer to host this parade for them, would anyone, any city, with any state, would have done that. And that's something I always was kept in my back of my mind. I said, I wonder why city like Boston, city like Chicago, city like Los Angeles, Houston, Austin, all the cities I just basically mentioned here, why didn't they not step up and say, we want to host this, the parade for them. We want to reward them for something. Not that I'm mad because, like I said, it happened in my city. I was happy to see them go down the Canyon of Heroes. I was happy to see them get a special key to the city for de Blasio. I was very, very happy. But I did kind of concern myself about why just this city and no one else seemed to voice their interest of doing that. And I'm hoping that maybe I'm, overlooking into it. Maybe a city did mention it because who knows? I'm not living in this city, so they probably news was actually dropping a bid, mayors. But it felt like only New York was the only one that was doing it. And I kind of find it strange and also kind of sad that actually happened. But in that case, they did get rewarded. You do know there's going to be visiting the president soon, probably for the next few months. And to me, I will say this because a lot of people have voiced that why are people making a big deal. It's women's soccer. Nobody really cares for it. Believe me when I say it. There are people who care about it. Soccer, especially in New York, is a very, very well played sport here. Just because it's not being followed in terms of the professional level. It's being played all across the city. There's no question. There's a huge soccer base here in the city, and the fact now that we finally have a real New York soccer team. No disrespect to the Red Bulls. It's very, very clear that soccer is a very, very strong sport. It's a world phenomenal sport. It's just not as popular as baseball, basketball, and football here. But it's still a sport that people do follow and people do play. Just because you don't hear it from the mass media, which the media I blame that more so than the people who follow it. Doesn't mean that it's not played across the cities. In fact, if you go to certain parks, if you go to certain areas, especially underneath some of these bridges that we have, you would find that a lot of people plays it, a lot of people knows it, and a lot of people know even the stars overseas. So it is something of a major sport. It's just not super as the other sports we have, and that's largely because baseball was integrated first in this country. That's why it's called America's pastime, because baseball has been played since the 1870s, when Abraham Lincoln was still alive. Football became a phenomenal sport, well advertised, well promoted. You also have basketball, which is an urban sport, well advertised, well promoted. So a lot of these sports speaks to the people who have grown up around it. Not many people grew up around soccer, and it's only to now that soccer started to really boost up. And the one thing I say about the World Cup, both for men and women, it does get people more familiar with the sport. The only feedback I really have, and I think this is something that I do agree with the mass media, is they have to make the rules more pronounced. They have to make the rules why we have red cards, why we have green cards, why these kind of things are important. And I think once people get familiar with the sport and once the rules of the sport, I do believe you're going to see more and more people follow the sport. I mean, this sport is great. I love this sport. I love watching on TV. I do agree it's not something of a sex appeal when it comes to scoring, but it's really more about strategy than that. And if people will actually watch the game, even watch it live, I think they're growing more to appreciate the art of the sport. But in any case, back to women's soccer, I'm very, very happy New York has given them that parade and Canyon Heroes. I'm very, very happy that they actually gotten that reward. And hopefully the men could take a little bit more interest in seeing how they have got it done. But women's soccer is, especially U.S. Club soccer, is something that I was very, very happy. And hopefully this will boost up some of the leagues that many people don't even know exist. There is a women's soccer league. You just don't hear too much about it because it's not really put on TV as much as one may think. But in any case, this is a big boost. Hopefully more to come, and hopefully for both men and women's sports in the near future. So now let's continue going on. I spend a lot of time about that, but then again, it is something of a joyous thing for USA, as well as soccer sports in general. So I want to take time to talk about that more than some of the sports, some of the stories, which not all of them are good news. And I might as well get right straight to Bill Cosby because a lot of people wanted me to talk about it. I promised I was going to talk about it, and here it is. As you guys heard about a few days ago, Bill Cosby admitted to some very unethical acts, which pretty much led to years of allegations that is pretty much has ruined his reputation to a large degree. A lot of people have voiced mixed reactions towards it. A lot of people have even distanced themselves towards the star. After hearing this story, which again didn't shock me at all, because of a lot of reasons, I'll get to that. One may ask, why did he took so long to address this issue? Was it because of lawyers advised him not to talk, or because he did not know how to come out and speak about the mistakes and the stuff he have done in the past? Because keep in mind, all this stuff we are hearing about did not happen last week, did not happen about a year ago, did not happen 2 years ago. This happened while he was on the hype of his career. And as much as people want to get upset, one can only ask, who do we really know about a star face up? I'm not excusing anything that Bill Cosby did. Let me explain that right now. But it doesn't shock me because of the stories I heard when I was a kid. People who had actually met him and said he's not really a nice guy to meet. He doesn't like taking pictures. He doesn't like really talking to people. He's not very, very friendly. Also on record, this is not the first time that Bill Cosby has been in trouble legally. He's been sued by reporters about how he handled them and everything else. So there is a certain demeanor about him that I think many people haven't seen. And I've seen the court case. I've seen on television how he addressed the prosecutors. Hearing his voice tone change from that friendly, perfect dad that everybody picture him of, to a person who was very bitter, very angry, and a person who really didn't want to answer too many questions, especially towards the altercation he had with previous reporters, it was very clear that this is not the nicest person that you want to interact with, and it pretty much taught me a very good lesson, and lesson I still stick by today. That just because you see someone on television, just because you hear their music, really doesn't reflect who they really are when the cameras are off them. You really don't know. And so when I hear stuff like what Bill Cosby have, it does sadden me for a lot of reasons, mainly because he had a lot of philosophies that speaks to the African American community, some stuff that African American needs to hear, must hear, especially when it comes to being fathers, especially comes to disciplining our young boys, especially when it comes to just to be responsible adults and not allow the streets to educate our kids, but us as adults educating our children. To hear this kind of stuff, it really does sadden. This is the same guy who has become a doctor, a professor, have written very few successful novels about parenting, about basically waking up to the reality of what's going on around their children and what their children are doing. This does hurt a lot. It hurts a lot more so for the African community than anything else. And I heard a lot of people saying, oh, this is just a ploy. This is just a way they try to ruin the man's reputation. He would never do like this. First of all, it doesn't shock me. Second of all, you don't know what's going on because the man never spoke about it. And third, the man actually just admitted to at least drugging, for what I understand, a few women just so he can have sex with them. That's all you know about his past. Does that reflect about him now? No, I don't think that does. I think that he has grown from that person. Because keep in mind, all this reports happened when he was high in his career. He was still in his 20s and 30s. He's not 20 and 30 anymore. But it does bother some that this has now come into light. It does bother him that this thing is not stopping right now. And at least he made the first step. I will say this. If anything else, he made the first step of saying, owning up to responsibility, which is something he wasn't doing. And that's the thing that really bothered a lot of people. And I said this before. If the lawyers are advising him, then there's got to be a reason. Because one, anything he would have said on the public, whether he could be incriminating to him, whether he realized it or not. And the lawyers say sometimes, don't talk. Don't say nothing. Let me do the talking. We got a court case happening. Let me do the talking. However, that doesn't stop the press from getting at him. Doesn't stop the people who he's associated with from cutting him off. And after all this stuff is happening, I think he's really gotten tired of hiding and say, hey, I did this. I'm not happy about it. I'm ashamed of it. And that's it. Now, one thing, not everybody's, turning it back on him. Whoopi Goldberg has voiced that she's going to stand by him. She is disappointed, of course, but, she is going to stand by him, show that support, which people hate because a lot of people that done kind of bad things, she seems to have always stand by him. And I can't knock Whoopi Goldberg about it. At least one thing I would say, she's consistent. When she stands by a friend, she stands by a friend. And she's willing to take the consequences for standing by a controversial figure like Mel Gibson and Bill Cosby. So I'm not knocking her on that, really. But he does have friends who are not going to abandon him, and that's a good thing because he's going to need all the friends he can get. As for his career, look, nothing's going to take away the success he has had over the years. He has done a lot for television, he's done a lot for entertainment, especially among the African American community. There's no question about that. In terms of his future, it's uncertain right now. He's going to take a hit. He's going to take a lot of hit, and I think that it's going to be like this until he at least ratify the situation, because this situation is not ratified. It's still coming out in the open. And the one thing I am curious about, because as all these allegations comes up, is the prosecutor going to do something? Because here's the thing that people seem to forget. The prosecutor did want to press charges, but none came about. In fact, they actually dropped the charges that's coming to him. It's not stopping these allegations coming forward. And I think Bill Cosby's going to have to come straight what he have done, what these women are accusing of doing. He needs to come straight forward and say what he has done and own up to responsibility. The key word here, own up to the responsibility, because if he's going to keep quiet about everything else, it's going to keep pouring and pouring and pouring. The best way to do it is say, hey, this is what happened, blah, 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 and whatever may fall, may fall. But at least one thing, we're hearing what he have to say. We're hearing what we have to speak of. And as far as these allegations concerned, keep in mind not every one of them could be true. All right, there already been a couple of them that have been shot down already. So keep in mind there may be some that may be true. We already know about the drugging, which has actually been true. But you also got to remind yourself here is all these allegations coming up, all these things coming to the limelight. These are very serious allegations. Is the prosecutor going to press charges? Is the prosecutor going to go after Bill Cosby? And if not, why are we still hearing about these allegations? Because obviously you're not doing anything to ratify it, either by through courts or whatever. Would it be a lawsuit? If not, then what the hell the media is covering it for? So those are the things I'm very, very. I would ask people to take consideration before jumping on one side of the thing. Get everything done. If from Bill Cosby's side, as well as what's going on with the prosecutor, and whether or not there's going to be a multi-million-dollar lawsuit. Because to me, I'm hearing a whole lot of stuff, but I'm not hearing not much action in terms of the prosecution or the civil suits. So let's keep that in mind. Now let's go to something that actually is going on. It's something that I got caught my attention a few days ago, and I have been following it ever since then, and that is the 50 Cent lawsuit. 50 Cent's John Carter, I believe his name is involved in a very, very serious lawsuit from a sex tape scandal. It's been a while since I heard 50 Cent in the music. I know he popped out an album a few years ago, which I don't know. It didn't sound like it didn't do too well because I didn't hear much of it ever since then. But it seemed like he's in a lot of situations. There's rumors that he's been broke. And now this sex tape situation is going on. I don't know what to say about this. It's been a long, long time since I heard the name 50 Cent in anything. But I'm going to read what it says courtesy of the Daily News. The article was given to us by Barbara Rose and Darren Gordoran. All right, it says here, rapper 50 Cent is on the hook for a lot of dollars. Jury in a civil suit against the entertainer by Florida mother who said he humiliated her by posting a sex tape of her online distributed for over an hour Friday before shocking him with a $5 million verdict, and he may have to pay many millions more. The woman, I believe her name is Lastonia Livingston, broke down in tears while clenching her hand on her lawyer's wife as the jury returns in a verdict against the rapper. A $2.5 million and $2.5 million in damages for the violation of her civil rights for using her image without her permission, and a $2.5 million for international infliction of emotional distress. Those figures could be multiplied next week when the jury weigh primitive damage against the great get-rich-or-die trying star. All right. It also says here the rapper, whose real name is Curtis Jackson. I call him Carter. My mistake. Curtis Jackson didn't show up to testify at the trial, which started on June 15th and wasn't in court for the verdict. The Manhattan Supreme Court Justice Paul Wooden told the juries they were allowed to take notes of his absence, which was made even more notable because he was in New York at the time to celebrate his 40th birthday. The judge ordered Freddie's lawyers to turn over his financial net worth statements and his tax returns for the past 5 years to help the jury decide next week how large the permanent damage award should be. The candy shop rapper might also have to testify about his finance. Wooden told juries the amount of permanent damage can be large enough that it only punished the rich rapper, but deter others from including in the similar contact in the future. The superstar net worth has been estimated to be worth $150 million and $500 million. Listening lawyers Philip Fred and Freddie had used the video as a tool to drive up his web traffic by dissing rival rapper Rick Ross who featured a daughter with Livingston. Jackson had doctored the tape of Livingston in a former boyfriend's name, Marcus Murray, by superposing his own character, Pippin Curley, in the video while giving explicit loose narrative of the action, referring to Livingston as the B word and a hoe, and describe her body parts as cruel details. He ended the tape by telling Livingston, "You're a mother F porn star now." The video went viral in March of 2009 after Jackson had promoted it on his own website, and the video, which ranked up millions of views, have also ended up in numerous porn sites. The article also says that Jackson's lawyers, James Rinder, told juries that his client had gotten the private tape from Murray, who had assured him that Livingston was fine with the explicit video going online. Okay, I'm going to talk about the last thing here because this is something that's very important to know. You got this from someone who said in his own words, "No, it's fine. The person is fine with it. Don't worry about it." As a person who is in the business, and I'm assuming he's not stupid, one would think that you will talk to the person, the victim, face to face first. Get lawyers to sign off on it. Make sure that they're a documentation contract saying, "Yes, I gave permission. Here's my signature. Here's the witnesses." And that way, when something like this come up, you can't say, "No, we spoke face to face. Here's the written contract. Here's the video of her agreeing to the contract. Here are the witnesses that saw us sign the contract." You basically did something that one would never do. When it comes to a situation like that, you never, ever take someone's word for it. For all we know, and it does sound like that, the person wants to seek revenge of this woman. Yeah, I'm going to say that she gave permission, even though she never gave permission. I can't believe Curtis would actually do that. Here's a video of my woman performing sexual acts. She's fine with it. Don't worry about it. Just use it. Now, I'm going to get a contract. I'm going to speak to this person myself. You're going to sit down and say, "Are you fine with this? Are you okay with this? Are you okay with me saying this in the video? How much you want for the video?" Because I guarantee you, nobody's just going to give something like that, knowing you could make millions of dollars, and they ain't coming up with nothing. So right there's a stupid excuse. I would think that 50 Cent would have the business sense to understand that you don't ever conduct business based on a handshake. Because this may happen. Word of advice, when it comes to something like that involving someone's own personal images and in a graphic nature like this video that they're saying, and I've seen the Daily News article and it shows, I don't know what the hell this kind of character is, but he's wearing a big wig and everything else. If you're going to show something like that on your own site, you talk to the person who's in that video first. You make sure that she was fine with that. And she says she's fine with that, you make her sign a contract. That way you can avoid stuff like this happening. Never make a business decision like that, or any kind of business decision that involves money involved. You never make it on a handshake. Because that can come back and bite you in the ass. And that's exactly what happened. I have no sympathy at all for Chris Carter for this one. Curtis Jackson. I keep getting his name wrong. Probably there's a reason for that. But my God. And here's the thing. I never even heard this. I didn't hear from this rapper in a long time. The last time I heard his music was when he was with Justin Timberlake. It was an okay album. But it was only 3 songs I actually like. And ever since then, I haven't heard from him since. I know he wanted to be a movie star. He did Get Rich and Die Trying, the movie. He did a couple of direct-to-DVD films, which he pretty much produced and owns. I have no problem with that. I don't know how much a reputation is going to hurt him. I don't think it's going to hurt him any more than it already has now. But the one stupid thing is, out of all the stuff I have read in this article, I have it right in my hand, is that last piece here. James Richard told juries his client had gotten the proper tape from Murray, who had assured him that the victim was fine with the explicit video going online. You know what he didn't say? He didn't say if he had a contract stating that she was fine. Nor witnesses stating that she was fine. You got it from one guy who basically said, yeah, take my word for it. You know, go to show you, fellas, because the guy had millions of dollars and he's on top of the world doesn't mean he's smart business-wise or just plain smart. This is the dumbest thing he probably could have ever done. One would think somebody would tell him, hey, before you post this up, think, did you ask that woman permission to do this? Contact her, talk to her, sit down and talk to her. I don't get it. I really don't. And what I also don't get, and I'll talk to Donald Trump about this about later. I'll probably save him for last because he's not really as important as the person who has been ridiculed in the news the last few days, and that is one of the baseball pitchers, Steve Harvey. And this is one time I think the criticism and the lashing out doesn't justify anything. Now, in case you're wondering what happened, I believe that Steve Harvey, just a little brief, was in a golf course that's pretty much run by Donald Trump, and he said that he thanked Donald Trump for having a good time. Okay, that's fine. People went nuts. People said how dare he, basically criticizing him, lashing out on him, and all because of what Donald Trump has done in terms of him making that dumb, ridiculous comments about Mexicans. You know the one. They're drug dealers, they're rapers, they're thieves, and basically going on about other stuff that make no sense. Rightfully so, Donald Trump is getting hit left and right, to the point where Donald Trump ain't speaking much now these days. And when he is, he's being very calm about it, being mellow about it. He has to, considering how many people is dropping out. And I'll get to that very soon. However, and I'm going to say this because I think people need to realize something. Right? Not everybody is going to lash out on Donald Trump, especially when they have no reason to lash out on him. And the same thing goes with people who are thanking him for a good evening. I'm not mad at him for that. I'm not upset at all. And neither should anybody be upset about what a pitcher, Steve Harvey, said. All he said was, thank you for a lovely evening. Thank you for, the golf course. He didn't say anything about how he agreed with, with Donald Trump's crazy comments. He's not sick enough for that. But now we got in a situation where a person who had a good time and basically want to thank someone for treat him out for a nice evening. Now you want to knock him for that? No. Now you're pushing it. Steve Harvey should not apologize for anything else. And I don't know if he actually commented about it or brought it up, but he shouldn't apologize for any of that. To me, he has no reason to apologize. To me, it's a ridiculous statement to even think that he should apologize or should be ashamed of saying thank you for a lovely evening. I'm surprised there's more anger towards Harvey, the New York Mets pitcher, which is a good pitcher, by the way. A very daring pitcher, a little bit over the top in terms of his voice, expressing his opinion. But overall, good pitcher. I'm glad the Mets got him. In fact, the Mets got a lot of good pitchers in there. And now if only had hitting, they would be a dominant force to be reckoned with. But that's a story for another time. But there are some things. Look, he's being criticized more than what a candidate who's running for president has said about Trump. The one who thanked him for, having the gut to speak out. You're the one. Come on now. Ted Cruz don't get much hit for him saying that he had guts. He's glad that he said this. But Steve Harvey, who just said thank you for a lovely evening, he's going to get ridiculed on Instagram? Nah, I can't buy that. Nah, sorry. There's no reason for that. It was in the front page of the news, and I couldn't believe it. It's not that serious. It's not even serious at all. And the only reason why I'm talking about it because I think people need to relax and calm down. Calm down. Trust me, it's not serious. Him being out for a few weeks from an injury, that's serious. The Mets not spending money to get a bat in the lineup, that's something you should be talking about. Not because he's thanking Donald Trump, because he had a good time and he wished to thank him on Instagram. We've gotten that so much isolated now that we have this. You can't say thank you to a guy. I understand that his comments are extreme. I understand that what he said was unacceptable. I understand that some people deem him as a racist and an extremist. But again, if a person who had a time and had a good, fine time and had a lovely evening, he shouldn't have to hide it. And Steve Harvey, to me, should not have to apologize for none of that. The guy said thank you. That's all he wanted to do. That's all he wanted to say. And that should be the end of it. You want to criticize him for that? Then then your hatred clouds your judgment. Now, if Steve Harvey would have said something about how he agreed with them, about what Donald Trump says, knowing that a good portion of his fan base, as well as players, are Latinos, then we got something to talk about. But the man said, thank you for a lovely evening. I had a good time. There should be no justification to lash out on him. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Now let's move on, because we do have a lot to talk about in terms of the All-Star game. All-Star break, some Alls coming this week. The Yankees have done something that I very, very liked. They actually got one of their players into the All-Star game. They was pushing very hard to get this guy in. So congratulations to them. The All-Star game is coming up. Normally I would do this as a separation, but it's like an evaluation for me. And yes, there's a lot of sports I'm going to talk about here today, but there's a reason why. The All-Star game I don't really care for. I don't like the All-Star game, to be honest. It really has no appeal whatsoever. Even when they put whoever wins the All-Star game between the American League and National League gets home field advantage, which to me makes no sense and doesn't really serve any purpose. I understand why they have it. I understand it's a special reward for the first half season, but I'm more concerned about looking at the teams that are in the pennant race right now. And there's a lot of teams in the pennant race right now. The East continues to surprise me. Again, I have to say the Yankees surprised me. My praises to Girardi for keeping his team afloat. And I got to say, for the other guys who thought they were washed up and done, they actually stepped up. Now, this is a very interesting bunch to watch, and I actually like their hustle and the competitiveness. And give props to A-Rod, because everybody wanted A-Rod to fail. Everybody wanted him to be out of the team, but he's still here, and he actually produced. He's definitely an all-star player, and he has proven that. He got 17 home runs as I'm speaking right now. He has done a lot in terms of keeping this team afloat. And for a few months, he was the MVP of the team, because when this team wasn't hitting, he was the only one that actually was giving run support, bat support, you name it. He was doing it all. And to me, he's really, really have become the good soldier, despite all the stuff that he has done. And there's no excuse what he's done. But in terms of this year, he's actually have done a lot. He compromised with the Yankees in terms of his bonus. All that money is pretty much going to charity. The Yankees have also put a little bit of stuff into charity. So that's good. That's something that really impressed me, because the Yankees for a while said, we're going to pay him nothing. We're going to pay this guy anything. He don't deserve it. That record didn't count. But as the months go on, I think they realize, hey, this guy is really helping us win. And rather than just keep a bitterness that could be a distraction for the team, they managed to come together and actually compromise in terms of not only towards the bonus, but just in general in terms of how they looked upon in the media. And that's a positive thing because that's one less problem the Yankees need to worry about. And believe me, the Yankees are in a very fierce competition with a lot of teams. Baltimore is definitely one of them. Boston is definitely one of them. Tampa Bay is definitely one of them. You have the West where you have Houston, you have Texas. You have a lot of teams competing, and the National League, especially, where you have a lot of teams that I never thought I would see compete again, competing. There is no. The Kansas City Royals are proving that they're not a one-hit wonder here. They're competing. They're fighting, and it's a good thing. I like to see this race. This has been a very interesting race that I like to see. I don't like to see a one-legged race where one team is dominating the whole season. I want to see teams work. I want to see teams sweat. And going back to the Mets here, because this is one of the things I think the Mets fans, and I hear you, man. As a Yankee fan, I hear you. I'm not against the Mets at all. I want the Mets to do good. The Mets need to start stepping up their game and get a bat here. One bat or two bats to get somebody who can actually spike up the bats. Because let's be honest, the reason why the Mets are competing isn't because of their hitting. It's because of their pitching. Their pitching is nasty. It's awesome. This pitching reminds me a lot about Atlanta's pitching, where you basically was not safe. Every pitcher can knock you out quickly. The problem is the Braves had a bats. The Braves had hitters. The Mets do not. And that's what's killing me right now. I say, my God, if this team had a couple of hitters in there, they could be a force to be reckoned with. They can give the Washington Nationals, which is a good baseball team, a run for their money. But they don't have that bat. And that's the big issue here. And the only thing I can ask for is they can actually get that bat or two without having to trade away their pitcher. Because that's the one thing I agree with everyone. The WFAN pitches right on the nail. I hope they don't have to trade away any of their pitchers. Because their pitchers are the real deal. This is not like what happened in 1991 when it was promised all these young guns. And all the young guns either was injured or failed to deliver to the height. This is the real deal. From Steve Harvey all the way down. You got some very, very impressive pitchers right here. And they would have probably been 10, 15 games above 500 have they got a bat in the damn lineup. They don't have a bat. And that's been the Achilles heel all year. They don't have a bat. They didn't have a bat a few years ago. And for some reason, and a lot of people are saying that Fred Wilpon is cheap. A lot of people are saying that that's the reason why they don't have that. I don't know. I do know one thing, though. They do have pitchers. All they need is to get a few bats in there, and they're set. They can really run the table. I don't see them running the table if they don't make a move. They may compete. They do have enough talent, enough pitching power to compete. But even pitching can only take you so far. And I hope that if they do make the playoff, and that's the key right now, making the playoffs, I hope their pitchers don't run out of gas. Because they're really putting in extra work. I'll leave it to the Mets fans to give me an opinion on that, because I really like to hear it. But in terms of this, overall, I'm loving it. I'm loving this season. I'm a Yankee fan. I'm loving the competition. And the Yankees, I'm going to tell you right now, I didn't think they would be a 500 team. I didn't think they was going to be a 500 team last year. And in fact, they shouldn't have been a 500 team. And somehow they managed to win 80-plus games. This year, they look like on the path to win 80, possibly 90. And with that way the conference is, the way the East is, the American League is, it's possible that they can actually finish 90 wins. However, it's also possible that Baltimore can finish 90 wins. It's also possible that Tampa Bay, which has been struggling, can finish with 90 wins. There's a lot of teams out there who are hungry. Hungry. I never seen something like this before, where we have multiple teams competing. And yeah, even though there's an extra playoff game, which I'm not a very fan of, doesn't mean you guarantee to get it. Doesn't mean you guarantee to have that playoff win. So everybody's competing. You still, in my feeling, the best bet is win your division and take it from there. And with that being said, let's go to the last story that I'm going to be talking about here. The last story that I actually wanted to um, get my feeling on, and that's Donald Trump. Yes, I know it's not entertainment in terms of news concerned, but he is an entertainment figure with his, fired, and he's pretty much became a celebrity in his own right. As you know, a lot of people has been bailing on Trump lately. The latest has been two celebrity chefs, um, and this has gotten to the point where now people saying that whatever he was trying to do has backfired big time. Even he admitted he didn't expect the amount of backlash for his comments, which, by the way, he still haven't apologized for. He's been very unapologetic for it. He's still making an excuse why he said what he said, which is not an excuse at all because it was just out of control, uncalled for, unacceptable, disgusting, and pretty much shows why you're not the man to run for office. You're not the guy to be a commander in chief if you're going to start doing stuff like that. Um, there's diplomacy. There's ways of wording your words. And I'm pretty sure a lot of other candidates like Donald Trump feels this way, but they're not stupid enough to go out and say it like that in public. They found ways around it. He just went full blown, and then he said there's too much politically correctness in there. No, what you said was harsh, rude, and you deserve the backlash you get. And he's been getting it left and right. He's been getting it all over the place. Surprisingly enough, though, he still is in second place. He still holds a lead. And that's largely because the media has focused more on him than all the other candidates. I mean, let's keep it real. What candidates do you, other than probably Jeff Bush, do you know their philosophy on, what they're running for? I saw Ted Cruz's advertisement, and it just basically shook my head. Simpsons, really? This is how you're going to get attention? Some candidates, I don't even know their policies because the media haven't talked about it. I haven't seen no advertising for them. I don't know what the hell they're going on. I do know that when New Hampshire comes and gone, a lot of these candidates will not be in the race past that one primary. But Donald Trump is a little different because Donald Trump is an entertainer. Whether you think of him entertaining or not, he is entertainment. People get a laugh at what he does. People get a kick from the stupid stuff he has, even though some of the stuff are deemed sexist, racist, and whatever names that I can actually come up with in terms of how he acts. He's finally learned to tone it down. I will say that. He's been going in interviews. He's been trying to explain his stance of what he meant by it, even though there's no excuse for it. He's been pretty much standing on I don't need to apologize for anything, but yet he's getting hit. He's getting hit hard, harder than I think anybody, including people in the Trump camp, actually anticipated. Networks are leaving him. Networks are dropping his show. He's been basically ticked off the entire nation, entire country. Basically ticked off a lot of countries, and he's finally, people from, different celebrities are basically saying backing off him. And I know he's saying that he shouldn't. He doesn't feel this way. I know he's saying that this is he's not going to apologize for anything. But he needs to understand one thing, and I even think he understands one thing. There are certain things in this office. There's a reason why politics, you need to read between the lines. You need to know what they stand for. You also know, so as a politician, you need to know how to word yourself carefully. One can't just go out there and ramping and raving just because you think that's going to get your votes. You may get a lot of people who's going to be pumped up, like some who was giving him that 11-point lead over other candidates and second place overall against Jeff Bush. But in the end, it doesn't reflect good on how you're going to handle things on a day-to-day basis. If you're going out saying hurrah, raw stuff and basically insulting countries, that's not going to reflect well on us. I think it felt well in the United States. It's not just you, Trump. And that's the thing I think he needs to understand. If you're going to be a president, you can't think about just you. You're representing the entire country. You are going to be our ambassador. And if an ambassador is running like a madman, like I keep saying before, guess what? The nation is going to look at us as a madman, as arrogant people who think they're better than everybody else, and think they can just trample over everybody else without any trial consequences. We don't need that kind of president on the office. But most importantly, if he loses this primary, if he decides to step aside from this primary, he's still going to suffer. Because guess what? A lot of clients he normally would have no longer are going to be there. And by the way, the name Trump has been tarnished because a lot of buildings are now taking his name out. The federal government is saying, you know what, we can't have a controversial figure like that as part of our name. We got to take him out. Other companies considering to take out his name that bears his name. And that's been his signature. That's how he makes money. So again, if he loses, he's going to lose twice. Because he's losing businesses, he's losing, his name has been tarnished pretty much badly because of what he said. And right now it's going to be 10 times hard to sell his name. Keep in mind, it's his name that sells him, not his real estate property, which, by the way, if you look at his resume, hasn't been that good. He's been one time in a bankruptcy court than anything else. But his name sells. When those building comes up and uses his name, he gets money. That's what makes him sell. So this is the thing he needs to understand. And to me, you would think that he would understand that by apologizing, explaining the situation. He didn't mean this and that. But he's not apologizing. Instead, he's making excuses of why he said what he said, which is no excuse. Now, one may hope, and I have no hope of that ever happening. I'm not saying that I want him to win. But you'll think that if he does, as the months go on, if he's still in this race, one will actually think that, hey, I need to start acting like a man who wants to be president of the United States and start acting like a person who's going to be rampant and raving and doing all sorts of rhetoric. Because right now it's hurt him. He may not want to admit it. Because I know he said, I'm the only president taking a loss. Yes, you are. And if you lose, you're going to take an even bigger loss. But one may think, hey, I'm going to be a president of the United States. I need to control myself. I need to represent myself more of a leader than a person who's just running his mouth and that's all he has. I want to know what his blueprint is. I want to know how he wants to do. Because until he shows me that, all he's doing is just entertainment. That's all I'm getting out of it. It's entertainment. That's why I talked about it on the Entertainment Round. Because to me, all his stuff he has done in the past few weeks was nothing but pure entertainment. He blasts everybody else for blasting him in such a way that is entertaining. So to me, it's like, okay, you're now losing. How are you going to fix it? How are you going to do damage control? And another thing about this is, and I'll say this and I'll leave it with this, and that goes not just for him. That goes for this for Donald Trump, but for every candidate, including Hillary Clinton. You're not perfect. You're not someone who knows the answers. You're not always going to be right. Stop acting like that. Please. I have enough seeing these candidates who think they have never made a mistake in their lives. They're perfect in every way. Stop. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. This country is not perfect. Stop acting like you're perfect. Stop acting like you can never do anything wrong. Because that's the thing that really, that's the reason why you have Donald Trump the way he is right now. He don't think he did anything wrong. He thinks he's perfect. He's right and everybody else is wrong. That's alone I don't want to deal with. That alone I don't want to associate myself with. What are you feeling about the entertainment stuff I talk about? Give me your actual opinion. I know this has been very long, but then again, with a lot of stuff that's happening, I was not going to break it up into two parts. I was on a roll. I hope everybody enjoyed their 4th of July. I hope everybody joined a safe 4th of July. And just by saying that, it reminded me of a story that I almost let go. I can't believe I almost forgot about this. I will do it on a separate one. I'm not going to go past 1 hour on this one. But I will talk about the football situation because it is something that's happened. I think we had enough sports for one day, but I will do it on a separate video. And with that being said, this is J77 saying take care, be safe, talk to you soon. Goodbye.